Hello, good morning. My name is Luisa Alemany. I am an associate professor of management practice at London Business School. I'm also the academic director of the Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Today, we are starting a new series that is going to be about entrepreneurship in time of crisis. And we are going to be interviewing a series of entrepreneurs that have gone through crisis before, and they are also living this crisis. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Paul Atherton, which graduated from LBS some years ago. Actually, he finished a PhD at Imperial College in physics in 1978, and then worked for many years, and he will tell us more. He graduated from MBAs in the class of 26, which is the class that graduated in 1989.
Good morning.
Paul, thank you for being here with us. It's a very complicated time. And we are just reaching out to some of entrepreneurs from the community of London Business School to see if you can share with us some of your experience during bad times, during crisis time. Thank you.
My entrepreneurial experience began almost by accident while I was doing my PhD at Imperial College, when we founded a company to exploit our initial research by selling equipment to other academics, and took off in 1985 when we got a contract from NASA to put something on the space shuttle, at which point I took a sabbatical from my academic career and I never went back. After 2 years, I was enjoying it so much, I went to London Business School, did an MBA, part-time. They called it the part-time, not the executive MBA back then, and learned a lot of very useful things. And we grew fast. We grew fast till about 1991, when things got very tricky. So my first company I built and sold 15 years later in 2000. Turned it into a telecoms company, and since when I've been doing startups from the UK universities. I built and sold 4 businesses, all technology businesses, hard, difficult tech, not software. And I'm currently chairman of 4 companies and a major investor in them all. And they're all experiencing some kind of difficulty in the current crisis. So we can talk about that now, I think.
Yeah, maybe we can start by going back to your first company and the first crisis, because I guess that one is the one that hit you most, because you are really not prepared. Probably after going through several ones, you know better what to do, but the first one is the one that gets you totally unprepared.
Absolutely. So the first one is the one where I learned everything. It was new, it was difficult, it was brutal. So we'd been growing very fast for 6 or 7 years, almost doubling in turnover every year. And suddenly, several of our projects went wrong at the same time. And massive cash flow crisis. I'd hired lots of people. I was a gardener boss. I were people I'd mentored and developed. I'd hired them from university, set them off on their careers, and suddenly I've got to cut back. But the other side was, the flip side for the company was, I learned how to manage on low costs. And 3 years later, we made huge profits. That's when we really learned how to manage, not managing through fast growth with lots of cash and profitably, but managing through unprofitable and difficult times. That was a really important lesson and has stayed with me through my entire entrepreneurial career, about keeping costs tight, not seeing fast growth and success as being anything other than temporary, shall we say.
Paul, during those difficult times, I guess you were feeling alone, or were you having some other people in the team that you could go and talk to? Because I hear a lot, sometimes the founders, the CEOs, they say, look, I feel alone when I am up here because the bad news I cannot share with my team. I try to give them, energy, positive energy. And I guess you go to sleep at night and probably you can't sleep. So how do you deal with that when you are a founder and you are the one responsible for all these people?
You leave a notepad by your bed so that when you wake up at 2 in the morning, you can write down the things that are worrying you. I remember listening to my Walkman at 2 a.m. trying to get to sleep, and being up at 6, thinking, how am I going to manage this and what am I going to do next to try and get out of this situation? What am I going to cut? We had one very useful non-executive director, a guy who used to run General Electric in the UK, and he was very wise. He was very old and very wise. And I remember him saying to me something that was very important, which was, people always cut too slowly and they cut too shallowly. They don't cut deep enough. They always think it's going to get better sooner than it does. And if you're going to cut, you should cut hard and deep early, because it's going to hurt everybody anyway, and you may as well get it over with. And that way you have more cash and you have more time. And that's been the guiding principle I've had ever since with all of my businesses is, if you're going to have to do these things, you have to do it, and you have to do it quickly, and you have to do it hard.
Probably this is a very interesting and good piece of advice for the founders that are going through it now, because probably they are trying to minimize this, but you know,
everybody tries to minimize it. They say, well, you know, we don't want to do that yet. It might get better soon. And actually, if it does get better soon, well, actually, you can rehire people. If it's people don't find jobs, you know, what I'm saying to my companies now is, people who start off by thinking this is going to be over by April or May or June. Well, it might be. And it would be great if it was, but you shouldn't plan on that. And the planning assumption we had a month ago, which was that maybe things will be better by October, I'm now saying to people, you need to plan with no more cash, keeping this company alive until next March. Tell me a plan. Give me a plan that will keep you going for a year, not for 3 months, for a year. Think about it. So I had a crisis with another company in the Netherlands back in 2003 when our big contract got cancelled, a big telecoms contract. We'd done a management buyout of a company from Alcatel. It came with a big contract. They cancelled it a year later. We occupied 5 floors of the building, and we decided that the only way to survive was to contract down to 1 floor. So we went to the head lease people, the finance director of the company that owned the building, and said, well, you have a choice. Your choice is, we can pay rent on 1 floor, or we're going to go bust and you're going to get no rent at all. We had a 20-year lease. They took our offer. And the other 4 floors, they let out to other people. But people think you can't get out of these things, but you can. Every contract can be renegotiated. So you can renegotiate everything, and you should.
Good piece of advice. I guess everybody right now is going through this same situation of having to face payments, and cash is king when it comes to crisis. I guess the government is announcing that they are going to supply some lines of cash, but that is going to take time. Paul, and in the personal side, how did you find the energy and, to keep on going? And because you need to have this, wake up in the morning, you see the world is falling apart, but you still have to keep on going, and you need this positive energy. So any sports, anything you did to...
Well, yeah, I played a lot of squash. Well, at the end of the day, twice a week. But I used to read Rudyard Kipling's poem, If, which has one line, which was, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. And if you can take one heap of all your winnings and bet it on one turn of pitch and toss, stoop and build it all again with worn out tools. Those sorts of lines from that poem made me think hard about it. So there's 2 aspects. One is, how do you get the energy in the morning? And the other is, how do you cope with the emotional and personal things?
So Paul, I was wondering, maybe you can share with us something positive about being through a crisis, even if the company fails. What did you learn from that? What gets in the positive side?
So I guess the most important lessons I've learned in life have been through mistakes and difficulties rather than success. I don't think there are many positives come out of success. I think a lot of hubris comes from success. But I learned to manage companies from the difficult times, not from the easy times. And I think that people reflecting back on these times will realize that learning, the lessons you learn now are the most valuable lessons. How you get through this, it's the most entrepreneurial. This is where entrepreneurs really learn how to be entrepreneurs.
Yes, and in fact, I heard somebody saying, don't waste this crisis. And it's a good moment to find opportunities and try to be positive about the negative of all the things that are going on.
Well, there's another point there, which is one that is often made in recessions, in that, you know, as we come out of this, everything's cheap. There's lots of people, there's lots of property, there's lots of opportunity. And it's very much easier to found a business in a recession than it is at a boom, because the resources are there for you. So be ready for the boom afterwards.
Thank you. That's very positive. Actually, we have seen it several times already, so probably yes. And the other thing I like a lot is this kind of having somebody more senior that can be like an advisor to you and reach out to somebody that maybe you wouldn't in other times, but at that moment, you know, is somebody that you can have a confidence and listen, and this person can give you the, you know, the bad news of, hey, you have to do it now. And I guess you are playing that role with a lot of entrepreneurs right now.
I am, yeah, I am. Lots of people are asking me these questions, and I say the same thing, very, very, very succinct, which is, find me a plan that will get me to next March. That's the plan.
Maybe can we talk about top tip that you could give to some entrepreneurs that are going through the crisis right now? I mean, the current situation.
So the way this one is different, it seems to me, is that everybody's going through it at the same time. And usually these things affect one small sector of the economy and not everybody. Well, that means that nobody has choices. People don't have any choices. Your employees won't all leave if you cut back because they've got nowhere to go. So everybody has to share the pain. And it is painful. It's painful for everybody, but we have to share it. Your employees have to share it.
Well, Paul, I think we are arriving to the end of the interview. And I know you're very busy because you're an investor in companies that are now suffering and helping these companies. So thank you very much for sharing this time with us. And we will be sharing this knowledge with our London Business School community. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in these difficult times, we are trying to build a community and support each other. So please, if you are an entrepreneur and you're going through the crisis and want to share your story, let us know. We would like to hear from you.